This is two different concepts that I have made for you for this color book exercise. Up here I've used the image trace tool in Illustrator and I make this out of my Beagle. This is pretty advanced for the more mature audience. And in this one I draw the dog, the Beagle, with the pen tool, like the old-fashioned manual way, which you all are familiar with. But I have also made a movie that shows you how you, just a recap on how the pen tool actually work in Illustrator. But in Illustrator I have a new canvas and I will show you how the image trace work. The canvas size doesn't really matter because we work in vectors and they're scalable. So I have just a random size web desktop canvas. I go up in File and I will now place my JPEG photo, which I made in Photoshop, and I called it Beagle 02, and I click and drag to get the proportion nice. I have this frame which I didn't remove in Photoshop. You should remove something like that because it's just annoying. But yeah, I've placed my image, and over here in the properties panel there's an image trace button, and if I click it, there's these presets with different kinds of ways you can image trace. You can say black and white logo, then it gets pretty graphical and simple. This is like too simple. I can't even recognize that it's a dog anymore. And you can play around with these. Low fidelity photo, I thought that this would be pretty cool, but it was actually way too complicated. I can show you later in another movie why it was complicated to work with. So I found that none of these presets, they actually worked for my graphic. So I went over here at the right side of the presets and click it, and then this panel opens. And in here I can edit a lot of different preferences of the image trace, and that's actually pretty neat. And one of the things that's pretty neat is the path down here, because we want to have our shapes simple and not that much path. And sometimes image trace, they could put way too many paths, which is not necessary. So down here I can at least tell them I prefer that there's few paths. You can see here I have the preview checked, that it changes at my artboard. Here it's more complex, there's more details in it, so when I notch the paths to low, it will change the graphic and it will get more simple. You can also take less colors, and that would also make the graphic more simple. And that was nice for this graphic. If I notch the colors up, you can see it's very complicated, and if I take them down to less, it gets more simple. In the corners here, it changes the corners. It's get more sharp and pointy over at high and more curved at the less. So yeah, that's what you prefer in your graphic. I don't think it really does anything to simplify it, like the colors and the path. So it's more like how the look and feel gets to be in your graphic. Same with the noise. I found that if you reduce it, it looks a little bit more simple, but I'm not quite sure if it actually gets more simple in the path, maybe a little bit. So yeah, I can put that totally up at 100 and it looks a little bit more simple. Okay, so down here at the methods, this is quite important for you. We can see the alt text when I hover my cursor over it. This one over at the right says that it's going to make them overlapping. It creates stacked paths. And we don't actually want that, because we want, yeah, not stack path, we want them side by side so you can color them afterwards. And that is actually what this method does, cutting. It creates cutout paths. So I click this one, and I can also show you how that actually, what it looks like in the graphics when I expand it. Yeah, so that was it with this image trace panel. You can play around and see what happens. So I click expand, and then it looks like this. This is the path, and if I click on the direct selection tool and my tools panels, we can see all the points as well. And it looks it looks simple, so that's nice. Something happens, we lack the tip of the tail and also something here, so I have to draw that afterwards manually with my pen tool. If I take my selection tool, the black arrow, yeah, and when I image trace an image, Illustrator groups them, and I will show you in the next movie, tell you a little bit about layers and groups and how to work with them. But the cutting out, if I click on one, and I have to double click because it's in a group, we can see that we have the shape here, there's no overlapping. So this black one is simple. It's not simple, it's cut out, it's not overlapping. And the same one with this one. And that is what we want. If you want to see what the other method does, you can try that out. Expand it and try it out, and then you of course undo it. But it is this one cutting out method that you want for this exercise. Yeah, so that was the image trace. In the next movie, I will tell you about groups and the layer panels, and in another movie I will show you how you can actually simplify the path even more.